Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. Today is episode 460, and it is a Mindfulness on Monday or Mom episode. And today I'm really excited to have my good friend Amanda Votto here. And Amanda is a mindfulness teacher. How perfect for a Mindful Monday! She's also a coach and a speaker and a cardiology physician's assistant, and she will be speaking at our Revolutionizing Parenthood conference coming up in April. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you, Erin.
It's so great to have you here.
Yeah, great.
So, let's talk about mindfulness and what do you do? How do you help people live a more mindful life?
Yeah, so mindfulness is my passion. I love teaching mindfulness. I am trained to teach the mindfulness-based stress reduction. So that's John Kabat-Zinn's 8-week program that is taught worldwide. So I teach it here in Connecticut where I live. Um, And I also teach the 8-week mindful self-compassion course, which was developed by Dr. Kristen Neff and Dr. Chris Germer. So that also is taught worldwide. So those both are my passions teaching. And so mindfulness is a way of being. It's a way of being able to engage with life in the present moment. And so I do a lot of teaching, and a lot of it is meditation practice, and then on spot practices of um, how to train our attention, which is normal. It naturally drifts. It's usually drifts into the past, thinking about things that have already happened, or it drifts into the future, predicting what may or may not happen. And it's waking up from that trance that we can all find ourselves in when we're just stuck in our heads, thinking, analyzing, worrying, and it's waking ourselves up, bringing ourselves back to what's actually here in the present moment. So that's what I do.
I love it.
Mhm.
So, I've had this question a lot too. And so I'm wondering how you answer it because I'm sure people have asked you. What do you say to people who say, "Oh, I can't meditate. I could never stop my thoughts"?
Right. Yeah. It is. It's common. I hear it a lot, and I can certainly identify with that myself. I mean, we all live very busy lives where we're constantly being pulled externally in a million
Mhm.
different directions, especially if we're parents, right? There's just a lot of juggling, and we're constantly doing, and we are planning, and we have emails and texts and meetings, and just constantly our attention is going outward. So it's no wonder when we stop to practice mindfulness, if we practice in like a formal setting like meditation, we will notice that our mind is not just going to settle. I mean, it's still going to be that busy mind that we carry around all the time. And it's actually not a problem. I think the first thing is to recognize that we may be labeling that busy mind as a problem, and it's not. When we know that our mind, the job of our mind is to think, right? We don't have to judge it for thinking. We can notice, oh, there I am. My mind is going off. I'm stuck in thinking. The moment we notice is the moment that we're already back, right? Our awareness
Mhm.
already notices, whoa, there I am. I drifted. And then we just can bring ourselves back to whatever, if we have an anchor for our attention, whether it's breath or whatever. But I think there's a lot of relief just knowing that it's natural for our mind to wander. That's what it does. And that to have some sort of unrealistic expectation that we're going to just be still and everything's going to be quiet sets us up for failure, right? Because it's unattainable. I mean, I have been practicing meditation for many years, and I sit very often with a busy mind. The difference is that I don't judge it, right? I just notice, it's busy, right? End of story, and bring myself back.
I think you said a very crucial word there, judging.
Yeah.
There's so many people who beat themselves up for not living up to what their expectations of themselves are. And I personally think that is the very last way to get yourself where you want to go.
Mhm.
And so I think that's great advice for people to not judge their busy minds. And like you said, to just notice it and say, oh, look, it's quite busy today. I
Mhm.
was talking about this the other day on my podcast, and you'll probably know who did this quote. You might know who did this quote. I kind of think it was the Dalai Lama, but I can't exactly remember, so I don't like to misquote people. And I don't remember verbatim what this person said, but they said something like, I usually meditate an hour per day, but I have a very busy day today, so I have to meditate 2 hours.
Yes. I think it might have been the Dalai Lama, I think.
Okay, good. I thought so.
Yes.
And I think that's such a great point, because self-care and mindfulness are the things that we tend to be tempted to push off the list when we get busy, but that's the last thing that we should let go of.
Right, right, right. But it's hard. So it's even, making that a mindfulness practice is to recognize the urge, right? That tendency in our mind of thinking, oh, I can get I can be doing 1,000 other things but meditate,
Hmm.
right? We can have those thoughts, and we can even, that strong urge that comes up within us to go and do laundry or whatever, whatever it is, and still sit with that, right?
Hmm.
Still be able to bring that to the meditation practice. That is the practice of being able to develop that just inner commitment and that ability to stay, right? To stay even with all the pulls that we are pulled in a million different directions every day. And so it's a great way to practice.
And when you practice being resisting the temptation to be pulled away by a thought, I
Mhm.
think it's great practice for parenting, because so many times we get triggered, and
Mhm.
the temptation is to allow the trigger to take us away somewhere else
Right. And
other
then
than
we're out of the present moment.
right. And then we have no idea how to navigate that situation with our child, because mentally we're not even there. We're somewhere else where that trigger took us to.
Right, right, right. And so mindfulness is so crucial for parenting because that is definitely, like you said, that's the one place that we are constantly being triggered. And
Hmm.
so when there is something that happens, there's some sort of challenge or difficulty that we encounter with our kids, we get triggered, and then boom, we go into reactivity. And
Hmm.
reactivity, right, takes us out of the present moment. We're, future based, or thinking, bringing stuff that's happened into the past into the moment, and we're just reacting. How mindfulness is applied in parenting is to recognize that we are triggered, and instead of going outward, right, yelling, shaming, blaming, or whatnot, then we go inward and we
Hmm.
actually say, right, I'm triggered, and use that as the gateway into the present moment to recognize, well, what's here, right? How am I feeling right now in my body? What emotion is here? And we stay very present to our experience so that we start to develop an inner space. And it's from that inner space that we can get into a position of response, right? So we
Mm.
will respond to our children from our deepest intention, right? So we start to align our actions with our intentions instead of being caught in reactivity.
Hmm. That's beautiful. So tell my listeners a little bit about what attendees at your workshop at the conference will get a treat to hear about.
So for the Revolutionary Parenthood conference, I'm actually going to be speaking more toward the mindful self-compassion piece. So, of course, the mindfulness is a big part of that, but I feel within my own parenting journey that the self-compassion piece has been a game changer, right? And I'm going to be discussing what self-compassion even is, right? And just very briefly, just to give a little bit of information, it's really about treating ourselves the way that we would treat a friend, right?
Mm.
That's, we just break it down into the simplest form. And we can, most of us, and I feel confident generalizing because there's lots of studies that back this up, most of us have a very difficult time extending that compassion toward ourselves. And especially in parenting, I feel like parenting is fertile ground for judgment, for blame, for self-critic to just run amok. And and the mindfulness piece is so beautiful to bring us into the present moment. And like I said, to recognize that internal landscape. But then it's like, well, what do we do with that? Right. Inside, I have this like inner critic that's yelling at me. I have this overwhelming sense of guilt. I have this, blame, anger, and the self-compassion piece is what I feel like helps release the headlock that we can feel like we're in the present moment. When we can start to open up to that deep reservoir of compassion that we all have, whether we feel it or not, we all have, then we start to really come into who it is we truly are and able to connect parent to child in a space of sort of just this continuous flow of compassion.
That is beautiful.
Mm.
And I don't know about you, but I work with so many moms in particular, who are so hard on themselves, and they expect near perfection
Right.
of themselves. And if they could just be a little bit kinder and more compassionate with themselves, I think their struggles in parenting would feel so much smaller.
Right.
Not that the self-compassion makes them go away, but it just makes it easier when you're not adding beating yourself up to the thing that you're already dealing with, because that just makes it 10 times worse.
Right. It keeps us stuck. And it's not easy though, because like you just said, if you could tell, these parents that are stuck in self-blame and judgment to just be kind, right? If it were only that easy, right? We have
Right.
so many inner barriers, right? We would say, oh, I wish I could be kind to myself, but I can't, right? So that self-compassion is a process, right? And it's a process that we very carefully approach, because it's a befriending of ourselves that takes place over time. It's a cultivation when we build safety and trust within, that more and more we can start to befriend ourselves. But it's not we have inner barriers. And so for the conference, I'm really going to be focusing on doing a lot of like experiential practices, and bring up examples from our parenting journey, and really start to work within to see how we can cultivate, because you can't cultivate compassion from reading about it or somebody telling you about it. It's really about doing that sort of inner work, that when you're guided, which I will guide, it helps to create the conditions for the compassion to arise within us.
Mm.
Release the barriers, right? And we all have different barriers. Some are tougher than others, and it doesn't even matter, right? Because there's ways to work with.
That sounds so exciting. I almost wish that you were doing the workshop today. So I know that attendees who come to your workshop are going to be in for a real treat, and they're going to get such a gift to take home with them in their lives, to be more gentle with themselves. And when they're more gentle with themselves, it gives them a much bigger capacity to be gentle with their children, and then to feel a deeper connection with them, and to really cultivate the kind of relationship that they both deserve.
Mm-hmm. Right, because it starts with that inner relationship, and then it flows outward. So yeah.
I love it.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to remind our viewers, because some of them are spread all over the world, that anyone who wants to tune into your workshop who may not be able to join us live at the event in April, we also have a video streaming option where they can get the recording of all of the breakout sessions and all of the presentations and things that we will do. So one way or another, no one has to miss out on this amazing workshop that you're going to be doing.
That's great.
All right, so thank you very much, Amanda, for sharing this time with us and giving us these great ideas about mindfulness. I can't wait until your workshop. It's going to be fabulous.
Thank you. I'm excited too.
All right, that wraps up today's episode. Wherever you are in this world, I hope that you make it a very mindful day for yourself.